All right, I think the best way to test out this new 2023 E-MotionEscapeR is to ride the exact racetrack that I did yesterday in the hare scramble. I was doing it on a 500 KTM EXC, a 2012. Now I'll do it on a 2023 E-MotionEscapeR. And what I could probably do is put those two videos side by side and see where I pick up speed and see where I lose it. Let's see how it goes. We'll start in red.
Stop for a second. I need to make a correction. I was in red mode right up to the point I crashed. Oh, here comes some people. Hey, go ahead, it's okay.
You video blogging?
I'm video blogging.
Awesome.
New toy.
Oh, what do you get? Electric?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's an ElectricTrials, so it's pretty fun.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm just giving some first impressions and
Nice.
how it felt while it's still fresh.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, what's the brand?
It's called Electric Motion.
Electric Motion, eh?
Yeah, it's a French company that they're still fairly small, but they started making them. And it's the only electric bike that actually has a clutch. I was in red mode right up until I got into the woods, and I looked down for a second to try to switch into blue mode, and I ended up crashing. So I ended up going back down to the start because I wanted to do a proper lap. Bear in mind, blue mode is the equivalent of a 200cc trials bike, green is a 100, and red is a 300. Now, while we're here, I want to point out a few more important things that I think we should bear in mind before we get into the side-by-side comparison. Just take a minute. Audio. You're going to hear the 500 EXC on the left side. And you're going to hear this ElectricMotionEscapeR, which from now on, we're going to call the E-MER. That's my new nickname for it. I like it. Kind of sounds like Beamer. And you're going to hear that in the right. So if you want to hear one or the other, just pull out the earbud. If you want to hear a 500cc petroleum e-bike trials hybrid, keep them both in. Let's talk for a second about the two bikes I'm comparing. On the one hand, a 2012 KTM 500 EXE versus a 2023 ElectricMotionEscapeR E-MER. These are completely different bikes. It's like comparing blueberries to oranges, right? What I'm doing is I'm just giving you the perspective of a bottom third tier senior amateur racing dad who's had a KTM 500 for 3 years, and how this new eTrails bike felt to me the very first time I rode it. And for the sake of comparison, I was able to ride the exact same track I had ridden the day before. I don't want anybody in the comments being like, oh my God, why are you comparing these two bikes? They're completely different. I know that. This is just how I feel about it. To add to my last point, let's be 100% clear that this is not a scientific comparison. I had my KTM 500 for 3 years now. I had the bike in that video, this bike, all of 1 day. I had hardly even ridden it an hour. My KTM 500 is completely set up and customized for me. I've done all kinds of modifications for it. And I've also had the suspension done by STS Suspension here on the island. Awesome props to them. They made the suspension so good. I haven't even adjusted a clicker on this thing. I haven't moved the bars. I took this thing out on and raced it basically as hard as I could, and it was bone stock, okay? Keep in mind that I was so fatigued after this race. Like, I was pass out tired the day after. I took a nap in the middle of the afternoon. I was so tired. I woke up the next day incredibly sore, so I am riding at about 60% of what I think I could have been riding at during that video. Meanwhile, on the KTM, I was on my second lap of the race, nicely warmed up, already knew the trail a little. Though, I had a better knowledge of the trail as I was going around it on the eTrails bike because I had already done 5 laps. Also keep in mind that I went out there with only 30% left in my battery, and I've been told that at 30%, there is a slight power decrease, especially when you're using, full throttle or big hills. Apparently, only the most pro of the pro guys can actually feel that. What I did notice is at 5%, there was a huge drop where you could just kind of limp it home. That didn't affect this video though, because that's where I stopped both videos. the track I'm racing in this video is not really what this bike was designed to do. This is much more for very slow, very technical, jumping up boulder faces, balancing, doing proper trial stuff. And I was just bagging it as hard as I could on at least relatively gnarly single track. You know, there was no wide open spots. But what I was doing is definitely not, I think, what this bike was designed for, although can totally do it well. I could be wrong there, correct me if I am, but I think it would need a little bit more suspension at the minimum and maybe some knobby tires if it was really to be a proper like woods weapon. Finally, I want to point out that I made mistakes on both bikes, and during the video editing process I did what I called equalizers. And what an equalizer was is I would pause the bike that was ahead so that the other bike could catch up, and then we would roll both again. The reason I did that is to give you a better idea of how they compared to one another at multiple checkpoints or equalizers. Otherwise it would have been kind of boring if one bike was leading the other the whole time, then you lose all the marker points where you can see the difference. I only made one change to the setup of this bike before going out on the track. I realized that the hits were pretty hard when I was going fast over the roots because my front tire was like at 4 PSI and I think the rear was at 6. So I brought my front tire up to my favorite racing pressure of around 13, 14 PSI, and I had about 8 running in the back, and that seemed perfect. It took a lot of the hits off the rim. So, bearing in mind everything I just told you, which bike do you think I completed that track faster on? An electric trials bike at 85 kilos, top speed 80 kilometers per hour, or a 500cc enduro, top speed 145, 115 kilos. Which one do you think it was? I gotta tell you, I was really surprised at the end result.
All right, let's ride the GoPro. bruises from that. Oh, God. There's not really any branches, so I'm tempted to take off my goggles for cooling. But I also don't want to get sand in my eyes.
You're welcome! Center is the way to go there. Yeah, man. My handlebar gave him exactly the traction he needed, not to slide like I
big hit. Much less
Way too much.
impact on my 500.
Yeah, no clutch. No clutch. Maybe that was better.
A little worried about battery. I started very low. And let me tell you guys, I am bagged after yesterday. Nowhere near full energy.
That was the one I think I was supposed to take.
No feet off the pegs at all. Oh, just there now. Lost my momentum. Oh, so easy to get back up though.
Broke another
oh, tricky one. Better than taking the low road.
Oh, that was nice. Little roll. Always the damn light mask, dude. I didn't get it so good.
Bark busters would be good. Just smushed a finger a little bit there. Clutch finger. This thing will start beeping at me when the battery's low. No idea what it's gonna do.
I feel like I'm gonna be fairly last in my class on this one. I
Down there.
What a rate.
A lot in 500. Big step up coming.
That's going to be a better
Let's see
line.
how this guy handles it. Oh, dang. That got nasty. This is actually harder. Oh my gosh. But we can just lift it like a mountain bike. I don't know. That'll cost me some time for sure. Stop here.
Okay, so I presume you watched the side-by-side comparison, the Equalizers, or you just jumped ahead to this point. Either way, which bike was I faster on? Well, when I take the two unedited video clips and put them next to each other, starting and stopping at the same point, I was faster on my KTM. How much faster? 10 seconds. One, it's totally crazy to me that it's only a 10-second gap. That's wild. Two, I can't believe I was faster on the KTM because that's really not a bike designed for that terrain either, I would say. I felt like I was ripping hard on this thing, but when I was editing, I kept seeing the KTM getting ahead if it was ever behind or just leading, and I was really surprised by that. Now, keep in mind all those things I said before. Bike is bone stock. I haven't even adjusted it for myself. I have no experience on it. I was totally fatigued that day. I think next time or in a month from now, I can probably keep the same, or if not, I think I'll definitely be beating my KTM times in the near future. But that was just a really interesting thing I learned from editing this video. Sometime in June next month, there's the next hare scramble put on by VIHSS. It's going to be a hare scramble out at Tansky, which has much more technical terrain, and I'm hoping to race this thing. We'll see if the battery gets me through a whole race. Either way, I'll have the GoPro on and run some commentary on that. In the meantime, if you want to see the full lap unedited where I talk about my first impressions of exactly, get into more details about how this felt, how the suspension was, the speed, the handling, just initial sensations, I'm gonna link to that somewhere in this, I hope. Otherwise you'll just be able to find it in my video feed. Thank you so much for watching. I'm super excited to be sharing what I'm learning about this bike about 3 days into ownership. And if you like what I'm putting out there, gotta ask, first time I think I've ever asked, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I would love to build this channel and spend more time sharing my passion with you about this thing for sure, and my good old 500, which I'll never get rid of. I love that thing too much. This is not a replacement, just another toy. Thanks, adios.